Welcome to the Organize Anything podcast with Colette Robichaud.
Welcome to Closet Conundrums, outfit planning when everything's on the floor, or how to leave your house without losing your mind. I'm excited to be talking to you about this subject because it's something that comes up a lot with my clients. And one of the big questions is, what is wardrobing and closets and ADHD? How is it different than a non-ADHD brain? That's something that I don't think we often consider and put a lot of pressure on ourselves. So some of the things that we'll talk about this evening will be about how some of the brain differences affect that. So people with ADHD often struggle with executive function, and some of those issues are working memory, planning and organization, focus and attention, and impulse control and emotional regulation. So many of these things affect us in different ways, but we're going to take that through the lens of wardrobing, closet, getting ourselves out the door in the morning, and even thinking of impulse control that can come up even with our purchasing. So ADHD also can have some decision paralysis when we're trying to choose an outfit, and just that idea of looking at so many things and making a decision can be overwhelming. So our deficits with working memory and that cognitive load of what surrounds us when we have a closet full of clothes, maybe the floor is full of clothes, and maybe it's on our bed and our chair and everywhere else. So there's a lot of things going on. So a lot of stimuli that maybe isn't the best environment for our ADHD brain and decision making. For many people, they just say, just do it. What's the problem? That's a bit of a broken record for people with ADHD brains. We often have people just say, I don't understand it. It's not that hard. Why don't we just do it? So I'm going to highlight a few reasons why it's not always possible to just do it. And know that, again, not all of these things are something that you have to lean into. The best advice is to listen, think about a few things, and pick one or two that you might want to implement. Small changes made incrementally and consistently are much more beneficial than trying to try a lot that we just cannot keep up to and not do. It just doesn't work when we try to do too much at a time. So one of the times we really see this issue is in the morning. And that's because our ADHD brains really struggle with transitions. And if we have that poor organization around our clothing, that really exacerbates stress. And when we're stressed, we're not able to perform at our best. So what are the common closet conundrums? As I said earlier, clothes everywhere, upstairs, downstairs, laundry room, everywhere in our car, in our briefcase. We have no systems for organizing them. We have this emotional attachment to our clothing. Sometimes it's not even clothing it's kind of memorabilia, if you will, that is more than clothing, that we're not really wearing it anymore, but we're attached to the emotions that go with that. And the anxiety around making decisions. Often people with ADHD brains are afraid of decisions because they feel like they've made bad decisions in the past, and it kind of becomes this this thing that builds up, and that delayed decision making often causes some other issues. So what about the ADHD brain and sensory overload? I like to think of this as the 3Ds. When we have that overload, we've got distraction because there's so many things going on. We have decision fatigue because we have a lot of things that we're thinking about and possibly have to make a decision. A lot of times we think something is just a task when it's almost a project. We might write on our to-do list something like, clean up your room, when cleaning out your room is actually 20 different tasks. So we get decision fatigue from doing all of those things. And maybe we want to think about our timing when we have to make decisions so we're working at our best. And also, an ADHD brain is difficult activating and starting tasks. So when we have a sensory overload, that is just heightened even more. So visual clutter causes sensory overload, and that also creates mental clutter. When our brain perceives disorganization, they see it as a stimuli that it needs to process. So that's the distraction. It's almost like it's a priority and it leaves what we maybe want to think about, but we're distracted and our brain drives us to process this disorganization. So it makes it harder to focus. And most ADHD brains struggle to filter out unnecessary information. So limiting that information, whether it's visual, auditory, even maybe smells, can be extra information that keep us away from focusing. And outside of the focus, it also funnels down into a lack of productivity. So all those sights, sounds, and smells don't allow us to process effectively. And when we're not doing that, we can also affect our relationships, both personally and professionally, because we have feelings of overwhelm, irritability, or anxiety. And often even our anxiety can come up as being cranky or all kind distracted, or that we're not listening. And, all the while that it is fundamentally other things, but it can reflect itself in ways that our partners and friends don't always understand. So our sensory overload can definitely be triggered more easily with ADHD brains than it is for other people. And remember, physical clutter equals mental clutter. And if you've taken some other webinars or podcasts with me, you have heard me talk about time blindness in the past. So if we're talking about wardrobe, clothing, closet conundrums, often our way of estimating time, projecting how long a task will take, thinking of a task is really 10 is really a project with 10 tasks. These are all kinds of things that get us into trouble. Can lead to tardiness. It can lead to really rushed and chaotic mornings. So clothing overwhelm. There are emotional and mental benefits of clearing that closet space, that our room space, our chairs, our floors, and our beds. Some ADHD-friendly strategies for this. And again, you don't have to pick all of these and do them. Think about some of these that you might want to try. So as with most things, breaking them down into small, manageable steps is a really great way to do. And often people with ADHD brains cannot break things down into more steps. So to have an accountability partner, to have what we sometimes call a body double, someone working along with us, it could be a professional organizer or a friend. Those are things that can help you, and they're very good strategies. The 2-minute rule or other kind of micro tasks, breaking it down. So just even working for 2 minutes, set a timer for 2 minutes and see what you can get done. Turn on your favorite song and go as quickly as you can and see what you can get done in 2 minutes. I like to do this sometimes before I'm leaving the house, but you never want to not set a timer and get out. For some people, that's manageable. For others, it's a distraction. That's why giving broad general advice for people with ADHD can be troublesome, because what might be something that is very effective for one person may not be for others. So if you already know something might not work, better to try something else. And yeah, a lot of times it comes to sampling and seeing or going by past experience. A capsule wardrobe concept is really great because of its simplicity. We talked about all that noise and clutter before, visual clutter, and somehow lessening our wardrobe and coming up with a strategy for what that wardrobe looks like can be very helpful. And choosing items based on comfort and regular use and is a great way to go. That special occasion clothing can be very bright and shiny in the store, and it's wonderful. But if we really think about our wardrobe being the majority of what we need it for, think about what you do on a daily basis, a weekly basis. It's probably, a lot of your time based on work, a certain amount maybe on exercise, and a lot of being comfy. And we know a lot of people with ADHD brains are highly sensitive people, and that can be to textures of clothing. And even as people age, they are more bothered by labels and different things outside of just having ADHD because our skin gets thinner. So those are things to think about as well. And pre-selecting outfits is really great to reduce decision making. But again, pre-selecting requires work and planning ahead, some of those deficits that we know an ADHD brain has trouble with.
If you're a busy professional looking for help with getting your work and home in order, connect with us on LinkedIn. linkedin.com/company/organize-anything.
So organizing and decluttering your environment can be a powerful tool in reducing sensory overload and mental clutter for individuals with ADHD. So one of the things we can do is edit our closet to create a more functional and enjoyable space, and one that reflects our current style and needs. So I want you to think about past, present, and future. When I work with my clients and they say, well, I used to wear that, or I used to do that activity that I needed that for, I always let them know that if you're saying used to, it's not something the present, or I want to, or I would like to. Also something that is okay, but if it's something that you've been saying, I'd like to ski, and you've been saying that for 10 years, and you still have those skis, it's something to consider as well. So we want to do a closet edit to make sure it reflects our current needs. And research shows that some different ways to do that include color coding, because it leverages the visual clues that simplify information processing and organization. And because those are deficits, we are looking for strategies and tactics that maximize and give us an extra oomph to help us. So color coding triggers a dopamine response, which we love. It increases attention and focus. It can simplify planning, supports memory retention, which of course we have issues with short-term memory, and it increases motivation and engagement. It reduces cognitive load because of it can process complex details by making key information stand out, meaning that color, what we're looking for, and it engages the brain's right hemisphere, and this is responsible for visual and spatial processing, so we can grasp and retain information more easily. Another tactic is categorization, helps with brain processing information. So many ways to do this is in our clothing. So this could be types of clothing, workout wear, special occasion, our employment wear, what we wear when we're out with our friends, color coding we mentioned, and then the functions of that. So again, that kind of overlaps with the types a bit. So, what kind of categorization can you have? So the function could be, that's my soccer gear, that's my hockey gear, that's my, what I wear to yoga, which is different to than what I wear to pickleball. Another workaround is visual systems. So I'm sure many of you have seen cubbies. Usually a lot of them are kind of 3 squares times 3, which are 9 squares, often used for books and all kinds of things. I use them a lot with clients, and because it's open shelving, it allows us to see what's there, which is one thing, that visual aspect. And, we can get all caught up on pretty folding and all these different ways to do things. But when it comes right down to it, a lot of times I'm working with clients just to get them to work on time and to be dressed in an appropriate way. So to me, I use these cubbies a lot. You can throw your jeans in there, you can throw your t-shirts in there, you can have shoes piled in there. And in the end, there's lots of pretty boxes and things you can do. But if you can see everything at once, which is something an ADHD brain would like to see, and also some of the suggestions for choosing that capsule wardrobe would be things that don't wrinkle. And that way you can really toss these in here. I began doing this just for younger people in their bedrooms. And then I started using it with older adults with ADHD as well. And often it's a wonderful space saving thing. If you live in a smaller apartment, you can often line these sort of cubbies right down a hallway. And you can also surround a room as well for small space living. And you can intermix that with clothing and all kinds of things. So most of us will probably downsize at some point. And with the cost of apartments, downsizing is an option that is coming up more and more for a lot of people. Habit stacking is a really fabulous idea because this is when you pair a new habit with an existing one. And it's really effective because it's playing up on already established neural pathways. So that linking of everyday routines like getting dressed or preparing for bed can ensure that habit is maintained. And I want to refer back to James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits. And again, reminder, focus on making one small, manageable change at a time. Do it consistently. So again, lots of information, but just think about choosing one or two. So an idea about habit stacking would be, after I have my coffee, I'll put away one pair of shoes. After brushing my teeth, I'm going to hang up one or two clothing items. Or after putting on my shoes, I'm going to put away my piece of clothing. So again, habit stacking is a really great way to attach something that you do consistently. So for a lot of people, they take medication at certain times in the day, and they've become very good at that. So you may link something or habit stack something with your medication. So when I take my medication, I will put some music on, set an alarm for 2 minutes, and I will edit my closet. I'll look for 3 pieces of clothing that I didn't wear in the last year or two. So we want to aim for making some of these things like autopilot, increase consistency and routine. So habit stacking uses existing habits as triggers, which is crucial for ADHD brains that often struggle with executive function and particularly task initiation. So I have here a quote from Wendy Wood, author of Good Habits and Bad Habits. Once a habit is formed, it requires little to no conscious effort, allowing people to perform tasks automatically, freeing up cognitive resources for other activities. This automation is especially beneficial for individuals who struggle with executive function, like those with ADHD, as it minimizes the mental effort required to initiate and maintain tasks. So, what can we do? Buy clothes that won't wrinkle, have a uniform. And maybe that uniform is, on Mondays I wear this, on Fridays I always wear this. And think about what that criteria is for your editing when you're in the closet. Does it fit? Is it comfortable? Have I worn it? Is it stained or needs to be fixed? Again, an ADHD brain is very optimistic. I am going to get that fixed. I will get that stain out. I'm going to check on TikTok for a way to get that stain out. So when we're being optimistic about the future with a whole bunch of extra steps, the likelihood of that happening goes down. So think about that when you set your criteria. And a key fact is people with less clothes make it easier to do laundry and it doesn't get stacked up as much. So pre-planning outfits for ADHD, that is something that, again, any pre-planning is somewhere that we're going to need some help. And if we can invite a friend to help us or hire a professional organizer, that would be great. Have some fun, gamify it with your friend. Take pictures, arrange your closet by type and color coding. And maybe, you have a friend over for a glass of wine that helps you for the week or helps you take that guesswork away from what it's going to look like. For people without ADHD brains, there's a whole bunch of other stuff in there for pre-planning outfits, like looking at the weather, really getting nitty-gritty about your events. But that can get much more difficult. So we want to minimalize that and take the very basics of what pre-planning can look like. So the ADHD brain has those memory deficits, so it's hard to remember what's in your closet. So we want to set an environment for success that makes your abilities to make your life easier. So making things visible, we can have it on a shelf, clear bins, hanging on hooks, and rotating our clothing can help as well because we have only the seasonal stuff in there. You're not going through now, everything that's off season. And one way to do that is have it in the middle of your closet and put the seasonal stuff out to the side, and the same as out to the side in the bottom or in bins at the top. Another way is to have a garment rack to put some stuff out for the week. I really like that, but again, another step that might be not right for you. And what are some tricks to letting go of the clothes that you don't wear? So set that criteria. Often used as that one in, one out. If it is memorabilia and not really clothing, like I bought that in Paris in 1999, take a picture. Think of it that way, and don't be afraid to ask for help from a friend or a professional organizer. And if you limit that decision-making by setting a timer, it can keep the momentum going that, okay, I'm not going to take any longer than a minute to think about this. And that can really help your brain benefit from that constraint and keep you from overthinking. I find it really great to have donation bags and boxes in different locations, laundry room and in your bedroom. And sometimes that donation box can be a maybe let go box. And you can set a deadline of, okay, if I didn't use it and now that was a maybe, I can donate it by the end of the month. So ask yourself, are you living in the present or the future or the past? You need to focus on the now and make sure your clothes fit your current needs. So minimize choice and overload, capsule wardrobe, focus on that smaller collection of versatile clothing. Just as in furniture, we like things that multitask. Let's think of that mix of clothing that multitasks, and that will help us simplify our choices and make them fewer and avoid feeling paralyzed with so many options. So ask, is it really memorabilia? How often do I wear it? Does it fit? All good criteria to ask. And when you're rotating your wardrobe seasonally, I find there are some great options for under the bed storage, but you've got to think about having that room to get things under there. So out of sight, think about places around your apartment or home. And those are things you can do a quick search online for different things that you can find to allow you to create space. And sometimes our storage things can be really creative, things that are artistic or multitask that we can use for storage. So give your ADHD brain what it needs to avoid closet conundrums. Make sure you simplify, you practice habit stacking and planning.
Does this podcast make you want to learn more about finding your work-life balance? Follow the Facebook coaching page, facebook.com/Colette Coaches. Thank you for listening to Organize Anything with Colette Robichaux.